Well, welcome to Vitality Made Simple. This is the podcast that equips you to feel better, look better, and to enjoy better relationships. Life is all about relationships. And I have two folks here today that are all about relationships. We've had a great time preparing for this. They're going to tell us all about methylene blue. Now, we've talked a little bit on the podcast about methylene blue. It's a super interesting chemical. And it's a man-made medicine, basically. We have two experts in this field. Dr. Stephen Warren, he is a double doc. He's an MD as well as a PhD. He's has such a diverse range of experience. He's delivered babies. He's been in the area of gerontology. He's done general surgery. He's done addiction medicine, and now he's in the space of regenerative medicine, personalized medicine. This is what we all want. I know you listeners, this is why you listen to Vitality Made Simple, because you want to take responsibility for your health so that you can more fully enjoy your relationships. It's also a pleasure to have Dan Schmidt. He is the chief technical officer for this company that we're going to tell you about. We're going to tell you all about actually methylene blue to help you understand it more. He has a very complimentary set of expertise, including stem cell and laser technology. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Well, methylene blue is actually we're all wearing blue today because of
I know.
methylene blue. And
Right.
once this is on, video, you'll see that methylene blue is the color of my scrubs. It's this bright indigo. When I think of methylene blue, I'm transported back to my microbiology lab, probably in about 1978, when I had a new pair of jeans and immediately spilled methylene blue on them. And so, in those days, I had one pair of jeans. So I remember it well. But it's a super interesting molecule. Give us a brief history on this colorful addition to our vitality.
Back in the late 1800s, they were always experimenting with different minerals and items at that particular time. It's sort of interesting when you were talking about the lab. They even developed a dye, and we started staining the red blood cells or white blood cells with it. Yes, there's such cells as eosinophils. Well, the other day I was realizing that the guy that discovered that particular dye named eosinophils after his girlfriend Eon and made it eosinophils, and it's based on his girlfriend at the time. So at that time, they were testing all kinds of minerals that they were getting out of the soil, and one was methylene blue. They found it was a dye that they could do to make, like you said, your blue jeans. We've used it for a lot of jokes in the past. They put it in in frat houses used to put methylene blue into their drinks so everybody peed blue the next day. And they've used it from the joke side, but on the real side, back in the 1890s, they started using it for a lot of ailments. It got used during World War I for several things. Both the soldiers, it made sure the soldiers took the medications. They also found out it was helping with bladder infections and prostate infections. And it was also found out that it stopped malaria. And so they started using methylene blue for a lot of different reasons. And over the years, it's become, it's been used in hospitals that we'll talk about in just a second. It's used in a lot of different areas, but then people just forgot about it. And because it seems, first of all, it's cheap, and so nobody wants to deal with cheap in our world anymore, or inexpensive, even though it works better. Everybody wants to find the next expensive drug out there, and this has just sort of lost favor. Well, when they started purifying methylene blue back then, they found it finally, the last rendition of it was hydroxychloroquine that we used during, COVID time came to fruition because we used it for malaria, we used it for rheumatoid arthritis. There's also some of the psych meds that are, again, the basis is methylene blue. So it's the mother compound for a lot of medications that came along later. And in our world, the FDA approved methylene blue for the usage for IV. I used it in the past for carbon monoxide poisoning. I used it for arsenic poisoning. We used it in the ICUs for traumatic brain injuries, for cardiovascular shock to help the brain repair. And then, of course, we used it in surgery. We gave people methylene blue orally, and then they had a puncture and opened them up. The spots where they had punctures in their intestines would turn bright blue, and that's where the hole was. And so it's had a usage. It's still all hospitals. I was listening to something the other day that all hospitals still are required to have methylene blue in their hospitals for arsenic poison or carbon monoxide poisoning. So there's a real background to it of the medical side. But then suddenly, wow, in the last few years, it's become a big hit because we started having patients with post-COVID brain fog, and that's where I came along because people came to my office not feeling well after COVID and couldn't function, their brains weren't functioning. And I remembered years ago from my ICU experience that methylene blue helped those people with the brain problems, and so I started doing IV methylene blue. Boy, within a week or two, their brain fog went away. They're feeling better. They're just their strength came back. And I said, man, I forgot about this and started doing more research and realized that there's a lot of good things that go on with methylene blue. And that's when we started developing it into a product for everybody, for everyone to take for different reasons. But that's the basis of it is an old synthetic dye that was used. They use it now only not only to dye, they also somebody will say, well, they use it to clean aquariums. That's because it kills all the microorganisms, parasites, viruses, and everything else. But again, it's FDA approved. If you get something FDA approved to put in an IV, it has to be pretty well qualified. And then we use, USP grade methylene blue in our products to make sure that's at the highest quality. The same thing if we had to do it IV. And that's where it came from.
It's an incredible story, Dr. Warren. And what your company has done is made it simple. You've made it
Right?
easy because it is a blue dye. It can be pretty tricky, putting it on your tonsils or it just gets everywhere. I joke that you have to have a blue shirt with a blue chair and some blue carpet if you're going to use methylene blue. But what I like about your company is that the form I take the Neuro Pro. It's a little pill, so I can
Right.
keep some in my purse, keep it accessible, and pop it in. Originally, I learned about methylene blue from Dr. Thomas Levy, um, due to a diagnosis, a personal diagnosis that I got for chronic lymphocytic leukemia. And at first, he
Right.
said, "Get your tonsils out, Debbie. Get your tonsils out." And he said, "You're going to think you died because at the time I was 62, and getting your tonsils out at that age is horrible."
That's fine.
Yeah. Then
It is
later,
horrible.
when I ran into him a couple of, later, he said, "Have you gotten your tonsils out?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Well, use methylene blue." And so we had been doing that with drops. So it was just a joy. We still do drops sometimes, but it's just a joy to find this delivery system that you've come up with. Now, tell our listeners the kind of the mechanism of action of methylene blue.
Well, I'll talk a little bit and I'll have Dan do it from his perspective. But it's the only substance really is out there that seems to go into the mitochondria. And as we know, the mitochondria is the little engines in our body that make everything work. It's sort of like a carburetor in a car. You put fuel in, you put the air in it, and then it produces energy. If you get too much of one thing, it doesn't work and it lugs down and doesn't work well. So we're trying to fine tune it. And that's what methylene blue does. It takes oxygen, puts it into the mitochondria, but at the same time, it takes out what are called reactive oxygen species, or it's the toxins that the body's producing, the fumes, if you're looking at a carburetor, that need to be taken out. And so it takes those back out of the mitochondria. So that's the interesting thing is probably the only substance that brings good things into the mitochondria. It goes through the electric transport chain, help produce more energy and more ATP. And then it takes all the side effects and all of the toxins that are produced from that process back out. And that's what you urinate out, basically. And so it's the only substance really doing that. And yet we see wherever you have mitochondria, there's only one cell that doesn't have mitochondria, and that's red blood cells. But everything else in our body has mitochondria in it. And the focus in our brain has the most of every mitochondria. Our muscles have a lot of mitochondria. So wherever there's mitochondria, methylene blue can go to those areas and start repairing them and making them feel better. That's why we get such a wide range of benefits from it.
Incredible. Um, so so what have you seen clinically, Dr. Warren, in terms of brain fog, memory enhancement?
I've been shocked. Again, I'm coming from this traditional background of like you mentioned before, everything from delivering babies to surgeries to geriatrics, and always have been a little skeptic about everything. But when I started doing IV and started having people have their brain fog go back, and they start coming and thanking me, and their families thank me because getting their spouse back or their father back was amazing. Well, in the pill form, we're seeing that within 2 or 3 days. We're having people say, "Man, my brain fogs. I feel better. I have more energy." We've even, as you might know, that methylene blue also is an antidepressant, an MEO inhibitor. So people with depression are feeling better. And we're shocked. We have these testimonies from people all over writing to us saying, boy, this disease is gone or this process is gone. And they're feeling better, not only mentally because they get rid of the brain fog, it's also building up the mitochondria in their muscles, so they're getting more strength and more energy. So it's a combination of both mental uh, clarity as well as giving the physical strength back. And I'm still shocked every day. I hear from somebody comes in my office and says, I want more of that methylene blue. I can't figure out why it's working, but I've given it to my friends. It's working. And I'm just shocked. So I know Dan has a lot more stories on that end too. I'll let him talk a little bit.
Well, it's just super exciting to see people. When we look at mitochondrial dysfunction, and what happens with that is there's so many other mental dysfunction that happens with that as well. But people being able to have their life back, have their memory, there's something that touches all of us. Whether that's Parkinson's, we look at Alzheimer's, we look at dementia, we look at ADHD. These are all dysfunctions of mitochondria. And when that happens, it touches all of our families' lives, unfortunately. And as Dr. Warren was talking about with the car, when he's talking about the carburetor, that's a great analogy. And what happens is, let's say we're in our car and we keep revving our engine because we need more energy, and all we're doing is revving our engine. Well, what happens is we get all that exhaust, that carbon monoxide poisoning, right? All the bad stuff. We can only rev it so long. The beautiful thing about methylene blue is it not only gives oxygen to the brain, to the cells for cellular respiration and gives the uptake, it also gets rid of, for the energy, it also gets rid of all the bad stuff that Dr. Warren was talking about. It gets rid of that reactive oxygen species, that ROS. And so what happens is a lot of times we just try to rev our engines. And in the long run, all we're doing is hurting our mitochondria or our power plant of our body. And so now people are able to get the energy that they need. They feel better. They get better sleep. They have better mitochondrial function. And what happens is, unfortunately, in medicine, and this is where Dr. Warren is a specialist, and so are you and others that are jumping into this personalized medicine, is rather than treating a symptom, we're treating the system. And that's one of the beautiful things about methylene blue is it's help treating the system, not just and taking care of the symptom at the same time. So we're getting overall cognitive health. We're getting overall neuroprotection. We're getting all better energy. We're getting better sleep. All those things, when we talk about functional medicine, all go hand in hand. And those are the stories that we're hearing. And people have better sleep. They're waking up with energy. They have better focus. I shouldn't tell this because this could be a problem. One of the stories was, hey, my wife told me I started remembering things much better. And now he has no excuse because you can't say, oh, you never told me that. But he's better cognitive function is really helpful. But one of the things that's really important is we're all in mitochondrial dysfunction. As we get older, EMF waves, the food we eat, our environment, all those play a function of that. And then we amp it up with all the things we're taking, our energy drinks, all these other things that are really inflammatory and problematic, and just revving that engine and never getting rid of that exhaust. And that's why we're tired. We can't get things done. So it helps eliminate that.
Yeah. Thank you for that vehicle analogy, Dan. I always talk about these bodies being our relationship vehicles. And it's just such an incredible analogy because when the vehicle's not working, relationships are definitely inhibited. And
Right.
and when you said the joke about he without excuse, Mike takes the ADHD, and I mean I tease him. I said that this morning. You're without excuse. I mean, it's hilarious that you said that. So it's totally great. Well, and the research on methylene blue is astounding. On my website, I have a free research tab where I just put good research. So that will be updated when you all hear this podcast. Feel free to go to my website. I mean, these studies will absolutely blow your mind. That's drdebbieosment.com. And just free research. I read an article, a research paper about, of course, they start with baby mice, but baby mice who they induced delivery. So they were born too early and they were hypoxic. And in people, this is a very big cause of blindness. And in these baby mice, they gave them methylene blue and they were not blind. I mean, wow, that's
I
incredible
know.
for something so inexpensive and low risk. So tell our listeners, about the levels and where there might become some risk with methylene blue.
we sort of say the one thing that you mentioned is, and I wanted to point it out, is you can't believe how many patients I've taken off these stimulants like Adderall and Ritalin and Vyvanse because the methylene blue replaces it. So we're giving them something that helps them focus better and do much better, and they don't have to take these stimulants because the stimulants, they have the high during the day and then the low. They don't eat, they don't do well because of the of Adderall or Ritalin. And when they can switch over to methylene blue, they're so much happier, especially when there's shortages of that medication. So I'm shocked at how many people are coming in and saying, "Oh, we're off this medication or off that medication." We're seeing executives that come to me and say, "Well, our staff wants to know why I'm on time to meetings, why my desk is cleared up, and all my projects are done." Because even executives and entrepreneurs people are going every direction but straight, and they have a lot of things they're trying to balance, and sometimes they don't finish. And methylene blue is helping you get that energy into those brain cells in the mitochondria so you can finish those projects. And so, and then you also mentioned that sometimes we look at all these studies, and I hate to bring them all up because there's so many amazing studies, and it sounds like it's the cure all to everything, and that's what you worry about saying, "Oh, this cures everything." Well, it does a lot, and that's I want people to do their own research and make their own guesses from that. But we encourage people to not overdo it. Again, it's a medication. If you take too much, it can cause you problems. The problems mostly came in the past when people had it in a liquid form. So one dropper full is good. Oh, the whole bottle should be good. And that's when they're getting in problems, drinking too much or taking it liquid. With our pills, we don't see that much problem. We don't, some of our ADHD one, which does not stand for ADHD, it stands for, advanced health maintenance type of thing. We encourage people to take anywhere from 2 to 4, or even up to 6 at a time, and not to go over that because too much is going to hurt. But oftentimes, I have a lot of patients, especially as they get a little bit older, especially if they have a little touch of dementia or even Parkinson's or some other neurocognitive things, to take 2 of the ADHD 365 in the morning, which will give them that energy, help them focus, and then 2 of the NeuroPro at night, which has the glycine, NAC, and nicotinamide to help repair the brain during the evening when they're sleeping all night. That's when we do all the repairing in our body. So they take 2 of the ADHD to get them up and going during the day. And the caffeine proportions there with the L-theanine doesn't keep them from sleeping. It actually helps them relax because they have more energy. And then during the night, the methylene blue and the nicotinamide and NAC and glycine are repairing their brain and repairing it. So we're seeing a lot of benefits with that. Those people that are a little tentative about the caffeine, we have a product that has just vitamin C and methylene blue in for those people for their energy and to make them feel better. And then our newest one is a combination of. We also have another one for TBIs. It's a liquid form that has mineral oxide in it, which is a great product. And then our last one is one called Metabolism, which is methylene blue mixed with natural caffeine that we're using it along with my weight loss program. Because again, the methylene blue keeps their brain functioning, gives them their energy, keeps them from focusing on food. The natural caffeine we know helps people lose weight and feel better. So that we're seeing a lot of people benefiting from methylene, the metabolism one we have mixed with methylene blue and the natural caffeine. If they're taking any of the GLP-1s out there or any of the other medications for weight loss, this is a great additional product just to help them focus better and to do better and to have that energy they need as they go through the weight loss product program. Because anybody who's losing any amount of weight is going to be tired. And again, the methylene blue is boosting up those mitochondria, making them feel better. And then, wow, they have the energy. They like losing the weight. It's a win-win situation for everybody. But you don't take, a lot of the tablets. You don't want to go over 40 milligrams a day of the tablets or 50, depending on your weight. And so we try to encourage people just to take the bare amount that works, but not that more is not necessarily better. Another one of those drugs that more is not better.
Right. It's that hormesis that we talk a lot about on Vitality Made Simple. So a little bit is good, but a lot is toxic. And
it's a very hormonic drug. You're right.
So. Yeah, so I really appreciate that. Tell us about the skin benefits. My listeners know I'm all about natural and no side effects. But I read some pretty interesting research on skin in methylene blue.
Oh, yeah, it's an interesting product in that, just orally, it's helping, keeping from getting sunburn. It's helping decrease skin cancers. It's helping aging products. I guess we can always say I got behind me the newest version of our methylene blue in a collagen spray form you spray on your face. Luckily, it just absorbs quickly and doesn't turn blue. But you're getting the benefits of the methylene blue in the mitochondria in your skin. So orally, you're taking it to repair your skin, and externally, we're putting on to help decrease the collagen that we used. I've used it in the past for skin repair, but now with methylene blue on it, just took it to a different level. So I'm shocked, just as you read the studies about methylene blue in the skin and how well it keeps the skin going, keeps it smooth, and protects you from the sunburn and skin cancers, is what they're saying in the studies. And you probably read the same thing in your studies. It's just amazing what it could do. I'm shocked every day when I hear another story and another study on methylene blue.
Mhm.
It's, when we think about, one of the things about skin and about everything methylene blue does is oxygen carrier. And one of the things our skin doesn't get, or really we need to nourish from within first, right? Really get, and as you already know, and with your podcast before, we miss a lot of that, right? Orally, what do we need to take? Because we are what we eat, right? We are what we take. And so a lot of times we just try to push it in one way. But when we can build up that mitochondria, it helps with, telomere lengthening. We can go into some of these other things as well for more anti-aging, more vitality when it comes to methylene blue, because it helps on so many different areas. But one of the great things is the oxygen capability of methylene blue, because now you are getting that cellular oxygenation, where a lot of things, they're trying to push oxygen through the skin. They're trying to hydrate, when you're going to aesthetics. So this is a supportive of all of that. And that's one of the neat things that's different. And repairing, like Dr. Warren said, every every tissue in our body except for red blood cells have mitochondria. So we need to do all those tissues throughout the body.
Well, and my understanding is that methylene blue really kind of supercharges any antioxidants that we eat. So, of course, I always advocate, real food, but then you're going to get more of that antioxidant benefit from the real food with methylene blue, correct?
Correct. Correct. Exactly right. So, I mean, every time you mention another thing, yeah, that's another positive thing for it. So that's why I keep saying that's just hard to believe it has so many benefits. Being an antioxidant, but also on the other hand, is also trying to repair the body through different mechanisms. So it works in so many different mechanisms when you think about it. It's just hard to believe it was a synthetic dye that could do all these great benefits for our body.
I admire the first person who ever, said, I'm going to take some of this. That
I
would,
know.
never occur to me. But, and it's so inexpensive. I mean, it basically is accessible to everybody. And
Correct.
It seems to recycle antioxidants, as I understand it. So
Correct.
tell us about the benefits of slowing aging.
Well, I think, again, if you've got that, as you and I are both getting older, Dan's still young, we'll keep him young. We want that
I,
extra energy. We want that skin, that youthful look.
You
We
baby
want to keep
Dan.
our, baby is
I
Dan.
wish.
That's what he is. Yeah. So, and I'm not older than Debbie is, so Debbie's got it. But if you want that
I am the
energy, you want to feel
oldest
good
one
every
here,
day.
folks. I am
No, you're
65.
not. Yeah, I'm 72.
Oh, you are? I'm going to
Yeah.
have to do more
So I
methylene
beat you.
blue.
No, you're going to have to do that and rapamycin together, and you'll be really happy. So, but if it gives you that energy, and that's what it's about. It helps people sleep better. Their energy levels keeps the antioxidants down. Like I said, we're using it for a weight loss program. So that's what this aging process is about. Is trying to slow down and build, like Dan was saying, they want the telomere length to be good. They want to stop that pace of aging. And methylene blue is doing it in so many different categories because we have mitochondria throughout our bodies. Everything in our body, when it goes into dysfunction, it's mitochondrial dysfunction that causes oxidation. Oxidation turns around and causes us to age. And where there's any chronic illness you can think about, methylene blue hits those areas by helping the mitochondria decrease inflammation in our body, whether it's in our organs or our skin or anywhere. And that's what's keeping us slowing down that aging process. And that's what I like about it.
Yeah, it's like we want to prevent the rust on this
Body,
relationship vehicle. So
our
Well,
methylene blue helps
yeah,
do that.
you bring up a
it does.
you bring up a great point about prevention, right? We talk about dentistry. We go into the dentist, right? When hey, I need my checkup. Let's do that. We really don't do that very much with our medical field. We go in when we have a symptom that we just can't do on our own, right? Or when it becomes too much of a problem. One of the questions we get a lot is, when should I start taking it? What is the right time? And the answer is, you should be taking it and should start taking it earlier rather than waiting for a cognitive decline, and we're always told as we get older, don't worry, it's just normal. You're going to get, cognitive decline. You're going to be
What's wrong?
forgetful. Don't worry. You're going to gain weight. that's malarkey. That's not true. To start that and really take care of your engine, get that oil change, get the lubricant that it needs in that engine so you can rev it and keep going. And that's one of the things that we miss. So taking it as we go for athletes, we've got, as Dr. Warren was talking about, our TBI, great. We get concussions all the time. We get all these concussed when we have an accident or we're running or we're doing things. And so we need to have neural protection. We need to start it early, and we need to have that mitochondrial protection, starting in our 20s, 30s, as we go, so that when we get to our ages, it's like, wow, what happened to me? We just need to start taking care of ourselves. And one of the things that's neat about the products that are there is A, they're affordable, but B, they're actually designed for different, things in our life. Do I need the NeuroPro Plus? Yes, that's a great, one to take on a regular basis. Do I have something more of a cognitive memory issue, which is Dr. Warren to talk about our new product that's coming out, which is our NeuroPro memory for those that have lost a little bit more memory to regain a little faster. If we have the active daily health defense, the ADHD, right, to go ahead and jump in and take care of ourselves when we're feeling we have cognitive decline, attention, issues. ADHD, by the way, is beautiful, but it's not beautiful when we need to focus. And so all these different products are designed specifically to help mitochondria in different functions. So as Dr. Warren talked about Metabolism Plus, that's really getting your metabolism burning for our weight gain, for supporting energy in the gut and the body. So they're all designed for a specific purpose. And that's where we really differ in our products and our product line.
Well, and just your ease of taking it, to me, that is incredible. Now, our listeners don't want to be normal. I appreciate that you brought that up, Dan, because, normal in our world is pretty pathetic. It's normal's just whatever is typical. And, that is, irritated, constipated, frustrated, overscheduled, overstimulated. I mean, I have a whole thing. I talk about normal all the time. You guys are listening are probably saying it, but, normal's not good. And even earlier off camera, we were talking about, say, in high school, nobody had anxiety. In my world in the 70s, we were just all carefree and, but now it is so prevalent. How does, so someone taking anti-anxiety drugs, how does methylene blue impact those drugs? I mean, how do they find a doctor who understands it? That could be pretty tough. How does this work?
Well, we think the one thing that it does work, excuse me a second, one thing that does work, it helps that anxiety because, again, we're building up, getting rid of the brain fog. It works, as we said, it's an MAO inhibitor that we use for, depression and for anxiety. The one thing, just a caveat, I have to add two other things. One is there is some problems with something called serotonin syndrome. So people that are on SSRIs, high doses of them, and take methylene blue, there's a possibility of serotonin syndrome. I did geriatric psychiatry for years and never saw serotonin syndrome. We have a consulting psychiatrist that works with us that just retired, has written many books on the subject, and he said in all his life he's never seen the serotonin syndrome. But we warn people if they're on a high dose of an SSRI to be careful with the methylene blue. But oftentimes I'm seeing the patients are decreasing their anti-anxiety medicine, they're stopping their antidepressants, and suddenly, because they're feeling better, they take these things because they don't feel good. And if you're feeling better, you don't need an antidepressant. You don't need the things for anxiety because anxiety comes from you're not feeling good and you're worried about this or that. Well, if you're sleeping well at night, you have your energy levels back, the brain fog's gone, and you feel more confident, then we're seeing people stopping their medications along with their doctor to get them off those medications. And so that's my practice. We're taking a lot of people not only off the stimulants like Ritalin or Vyvanse, we're taking them off the SSRIs, we're taking them off the benzos, we're taking them off these other areas. The other thing that we should point out, you didn't ask the question, is there an age? We have 90-year-olds taking it, but we also have younger kids taking it, so they don't have to start in school with Strattera or start with all those medications. So we've had parents that'll start on one tablet a day or a half a tablet a day of the ADHD instead of putting them on Ritalin or trying to do other, along with the behavior modifications in their school. And we're seeing benefits with that. So our reports that we're getting are phenomenal, both in the younger age group as well as the older age group. So, we just say that if you're, pregnant or breastfeeding, not to do it because there's always complications, potential problems, not that are going to have any side effects from it. We just want to warn people about that. And also the other thing with the SSRIs. There's also another thing: if the family has a history of G6P deficiency, which is a hereditary disease. I see it when I'm doing ozone on patients. I have to be careful if they have that. I've never met a patient with G6P deficiency. So, but again, if somebody knows that in their family history, they need to be careful taking methylene blue. So only methylene blue or high dose serotonin SSRIs are the only thing we have to be cautious about. But since it acts both as an antidepressant, MAO inhibitor, and it helping their brain function better, that's where we're seeing people coming off their anxiety medications or antidepressants. So it's like a 2-3 fold thing to get people feeling better.
That's great. What have you seen in terms of vision?
That's again, you mentioned that about the mouse studies. I haven't seen that study, but I don't ever ask people that. I guess I still have to have my reading glasses, so it hasn't quite helped that yet. But hopefully it'll make some difference down there. And but I just don't have any experience in that yet with the vision. So if anybody's out there, let them, your listeners, if they're taking and have success, let you know so we can find out about it. Again, we've only been doing this only 6-7 months, and the IVs I was doing before, and so we're just trying to gather all this data, and it's every day we're getting new testimonials that are coming in on different disease processes that we're just saying, whoa, that's hard to believe, but it makes sense when we're just like we said, getting that carburetor to function at a higher level. We're not over stuffing it with too much fuel. We're getting rid of all the toxins and all the fumes. That's where we're getting people to feel better for things that we didn't even imagine could help for. But we did know it worked in malaria. We've done studies in the Congo with it. It worked really well. We know that it helps a lot of different processes. Again, urinary tract. If you look up a lot of the old UTI medications, a lot of the incontinence medications, what do they have in it? Methylene blue. And so it helps with bladder infections. I mean, I was using it for a while, just low dose with vitamin C to prevent women that have chronic UTIs from having their infections. We've seen it in, I got a medication the other day, and it's an old urinary incontinence medication. And the third ingredient on it was methylene blue. So we're seeing it all the time for so many processes. I'm still shocked every day when I hear another story and how people are doing with it. So.
Mhm. Well, and for the listeners, I want to clarify, methylene blue's been around forever. I didn't realize that your lab was this new. I met you all at the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine in December and was just so impressed with your delivery system because
Right.
of the staining potential of the methylene blue that I was using. I didn't take it with me. I don't take it on trips. I'm a
No.
spiller anyway. So when I always spill something and I say, "Oh, it's a party," well, you don't want to have a party with
No,
methylene blue.
with blue. No.
And you don't want to be a dentist with blue teeth.
Oh, that's right. That's a real good point. I guess I could just wear a mask all the time.
Yeah.
Which
Nope.
reminds me, methylene blue is really effective against interleukin 6.
It is.
Interleukin 6, folks, is a inflammatory marker, and interleukin 6 was very implicated in the COVID pandemic and all kinds of viruses. Expound on methylene blue in terms of viral infections.
Again, it wipes it out. Dan was talking before we got on about our other product that it helps in that region, which is the hydrogen peroxide product we have. But it with methylene blue is really a good combination in killing the viruses. That's why they use it in the fish aquariums. It kills the viruses, the parasites, the bacteria. And so we're seeing that the studies have shown that it kills almost everything that's out there. And people who take it consistently aren't getting the colds or not getting sick like other people are. So it's really a over wellness thing. It helps you feel better and then keeps you better. So.
Mm-hmm.
Interestingly enough, when you talked about being at the December A4M, right, as we were talking about that, one of the interesting things that I didn't know, but was being spoken of, and you'll remember who it is, President, was talking in regards to mitochondria are also the first really immune response. So it actually, the mitochondria change shape and says, I've got an immunity problem. There's an invader. I don't know if it's in me or somewhere else. So I'm going to close up and I'm not going to keep that spread going anywhere. And what happens is when you have a lot of inflammation, as we were just talking about, right, and all these other problems, as he talked about, it gets stuck in this dysfunction and it stays in that dysfunction, right? And I thought that was incredible because when it's in that function, it can't go. So I need to throw alpha lipoic acid. I need to throw CoQ10. I need to throw all these things at it to start helping with the inflammation, get a little bit better as far as energy production with the CoQ10. But if it's in that stuck position, it doesn't matter what you take until you get it out of its dysfunction. I thought that was brilliant, because what happens is when we're in dysfunction, there is no energy. So 20% of our oxygen, 20% of our energy at rest goes to our brain. And one of the things that's for me passionate is that when that's happening and we are depressed, or we don't have the energy, some people truly don't have the energy because their bodies are not producing enough energy. Anything that's going is only going to the brain, and we're overthinking it and overstressed. All that energy is going to it. So when people go, hey, I just want you to get up and go exercise, you're going to feel better. They literally don't have it because those mitochondria, and that methylene blue will help get it unstuck, because as Dr. Warren was talking about, it bypasses the stuck part of that electric transport chain. So now it can get back into regular function. And that's what we missed on so many other medications, or when we're taking other things. You talked about, does it help with other antioxidants? It does, because it accelerates the benefit of those other products that we're taking and those other supplements. So to really make those supplements work right, methylene blue is a key ingredient in order to make that work. And that's what's super exciting. It's interesting too that when we talk about depression, and that's why people are like, man, I feel better. I feel unstuck. I have a little bit more energy. I can go do something. And especially if they take the active daily health defense, it helps them boost their energy during the day so they can feel better, so they can function. But a lot of, we look at antidepressants and things, and I'm speaking in general terms now. It's interesting how many people go on those because they're just stuck in that dysfunction. But what happens is they also then start to gain a tremendous amount of weight. My question is, what happens with that mitochondria? Is it burning as well? Is it still stuck? Is it even getting worse? Because it doesn't seem like it's actually, helping in that arena.
It's a big problem. One of the major side effects of antidepressants is weight gain. So then
a big
people
one.
get more depressed. Go ahead, Dr. Warren. I interrupted you, I think.
No, I didn't interrupt me. I was just saying, you just went silent. So, no, I agree with everything. And so, we just tried, like you said, we've made it in simple forms, inexpensive, because that was one of the things I wanted, was something inexpensive, because I'm tired of all the new drugs coming out so expensive, because if people can't afford it, they're not going to take it. Our goal was to make it so everybody can take it, feel better, and not feel like they're being burdened by it. And that was one of our major goals, to make it and try to keep it at that low price range so people feel better on it. So, we even talked about, it's interesting. There was a guy who's a big not podcaster. He writes newsletters every day. He's always all over his alternative medicine, especially during COVID time. He did one on methylene blue the other day, and he was saying that, if you had a heart attack, you want methylene blue in one pocket and aspirin in the other pocket, because it goes in and gives cardiac benefits and opens up the blood vessels and helps it. That's why I use it in cardiac shock, both for the heart and for the brain. And so I'm just, every day there's more things with methylene blue, and it's just say, give it a try and see how you do. Just don't take too much, and I think you'll be just perfectly fine. That's what we're excited about. So
Yeah, start low, go slow. And your
yep.
website is excellent with information. I really appreciate that. Their website is best365labs.com. And additionally, I'll have things on my free research area. You can just log into drdebbieosment.com. And, this is decentralized health. And I really think this is where it's headed. We need doctors, and I want people to keep needing doctors and having good doctors. But this allows people to take responsibility on a very preventive level and to get educated for themselves. And if, I always tell on Instagram, I talk about all the time, if you go to a doctor who doesn't want to answer your questions or shames you, find another doctor, because we live in an incredible time in history where curiosity is key to health. And you all have put together an excellent product, and I didn't know it was this new. I am so impressed because I love to be on the cutting edge of something excellent and to share that information with people. So go to best365labs.com and learn a lot more. Now, and be sure and use the promo code Vitality, all caps, Vitality, and you'll save 10%. They have generously offered us an affiliate program, and I appreciate that. So you can save money. So Oh, you've shared so many good things. Dr. Warren, Dan, anything else that our listeners need to know about methylene blue?
No, they'll just find out for themselves. That's what I tell
Yeah,
patients: go try it yourself, and then come back. And I'm always amazed. So that's the good thing. Everybody does really well on it. So just go try it, see how you do.
absolutely.
I think
There,
that, Dan, didn't you say there's even a money back guarantee too on it
now
too? So we're making it really easy for people. So.
people will feel a difference, and that's one of the beauties. As Dr. Warren said, you'll feel within a couple of days. If you're doing the active daily health defense, you'll feel it within within 15, 30 minutes. But one of the things also that's important to know, especially on methylene blue, as Dr. Warren was talking about it being a standing, and you both were, is it can be clear or it can be the dark blue. And either way it is, it's just in a different state. If you add vitamin C with the methylene blue, it'll turn to almost a clear. So on our liquid product, don't let it fool you. It's still, if you drop it on something, it will turn it blue. So as soon as it oxidizes, gets introduced to oxygen, things of that nature, it will turn into that blue color. So it will change color from time to time, just so you know.
Yeah. Well, and that's what's so great about these little tabs.
Yeah, those
It
are
is.
easy.
These are great. Now, it's still going to make your urine blue or
Yes.
some
Or green.
shade of blue. Or, yeah.
Or
Or,
green.
I love art, so it's colorful, and that's kind of nice. So appreciate it.
Yeah, we say if you're peeing blue, you're staying healthy. So that's the rule, okay?
Yeah, that's great. It's a great sign it's working for you. Well, thank you all so much for
Welcome.
being
Thank you
here,
so
and
much.
thank you listeners for spreading the good news of Vitality Made Simple. We're now in 122 countries and 4,170 cities, and that's because of the generosity of you all sharing this. Join me on Instagram, having lots of fun there, and I'll be talking more and more about methylene blue and all kinds of things, all kinds of ways to help you feel great, to enjoy life, to have better relationships. It's all about relationships. That's why we're here. Blessings until next time.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you so much.